Let's dive into something pretty fascinating, and honestly, a little bit rare. We're going to explore what happens inside the mind of someone who, when things get really bad, doesn't panic. Nope, they do something else entirely.
So, let me just ask you this straight up. Picture a real emergency. Chaos is breaking out. People around you are starting to lose it. But you? Do you feel something else taking over? Maybe a strange, almost surreal sense of calm? If that sounds familiar, you're not just good under pressure. What you're likely experiencing is a very specific psychological event. The best way to think about it is like a switch in your brain that just flips. And when it does, it completely overrides that natural, very human impulse to freak out.
So what does it really mean to find that calm right in the middle of all the chaos? Let's get into it.
Okay, so the official term for this is intense composure. And I want to be clear, this is so much more than just not panicking. It's an active mental state. It's this powerful mix of deep calm, an almost laser-like focus, and a kind of emotional distance from the fear of what's happening. It's basically your brain kicking into a peak performance mode when the stakes are at their absolute highest. Now, to really wrap our heads around intense composure, it really helps to look at it next to the much more common reaction, pure panic. And this just lays it out perfectly. On one hand, you've got the panic response, right? Your thoughts are all over the place, your actions are just reactions, and your thinking is completely clouded. But on the other side, intense composure is the polar opposite. Your mind is incredibly focused, every action is deliberate and has a purpose, and your thoughts are crystal clear. It's kind of the difference between just flailing around in the water versus executing a perfect swim stroke to get yourself safely to shore.
So what's actually going on in the brain to make this happen? What's the mechanism behind this mental switch? Let's take a look at the anatomy of composure.
It really boils down to this simple but incredibly powerful three-step process. First, your brain's alarm system lights up. It knows there's a serious threat. But then, and this is the key part, instead of that alarm triggering total panic, a neurological switch flips. Your brain's command center, the prefrontal cortex, basically jumps in and cuts off the fear impulse. And that move activates a whole different pathway, a state of intense, focused calm.
So what does this state actually look and feel like on the inside? The characteristics are pretty remarkable. That heightened focus? It can feel like the world is moving in slow motion, which lets you process information way faster. Emotional detachment is like a protective shield. It filters out the fear so you can think straight. And the result of those two things is decisive action. This is the mindset of an ER surgeon in a crazy trauma situation or a pilot just calmly going through their checklists while alarms are blaring. You don't freeze up, you act.
So when you step back and look at the big picture, what does the fact that this trait even exists tell us about the human mind?
What's really crucial to get here is that intense composure is a perfect example of neurodiversity. It shows us that the human brain has come up with more than one strategy for survival. This isn't a glitch, it's a feature. You could even see it as an evolutionary adaptation that for some people might have given them and their entire community a critical edge in surviving. It's just an amazing testament to our ability to adapt under pressure.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. I mean, in a moment of crisis, this trait is without a doubt a kind of superpower. But what about in everyday life? Is there a downside to being wired this way? Is it a gift you can turn on and off? Or is it a burden that kind of shapes how you experience the entire world? Definitely something to chew on.